I'm going to be honest with you about something I don't love admitting. I have never really enjoyed sharing my work. And I know that sounds crazy coming from someone who literally creates things for a living. But social media, marketing decks, updating websites, they've always felt like chores to me. And I didn't get into this to sit behind a computer telling people how great my work is. But here's what I've learned the hard way. If nobody knows you exist, nobody can hire you. So today, I want to break down the real stuff, why sharing feels hard, and why it matters more than most creatives want to admit, and exactly what changed for me. I've got 7 things I want to walk you through, and by the end, I hope you'll see visibility a little bit differently.
My name is Nolan Matthews. I'm a photographer, director, and pilot based in Utah. After nearly a decade in the corporate world, I walked away to build a life around travel, adventure, and storytelling. This channel is all about the work, the process, and the stories behind it all.
Before we get into it, let me give you a quick map of where we're going. 7 things related to being visible, all connected. And I'll be honest, a couple of them might push back on the way you're thinking about it. We're going to talk about why sharing feels emotional, how to actually get comfortable with it, the cold business reality underneath it all, and why it's still worth doing even if you hate it. Also, we're going to talk about how sharing becomes a strategy, what your brand actually is, and what consistent sharing has done with me over time. So, let's get into it. I'm an introverted person, and being creative, actually making things, is deeply personal to me. I suspect it is for a lot of you too. There's something about putting work out there into the world to be judged that just doesn't get easier, at least not for me. It doesn't help that I'm also a perfectionist. I almost never arrive at a place where I feel like something is actually done. I'm by far my own worst critic, and for a long time that was the excuse that I hid behind. But there's a Rick Rubin idea I keep coming back to. He talks about how artists have zero control over how their work is received. All you can control is the making of it. Trying to manage the outcome just gets in the way of doing the work at all. And now I've really tried to live by that. And what I've found is the more I put out, the more feedback I get. And that feedback, whether it's good or bad, is actually what makes me better. So the perfectionism, yeah, I haven't fixed it. I've just stopped letting it be the reason that I don't share in the first place. The quicker you get comfortable sharing your work, the better off you'll be. I know that. But man, if you're anything like me, it can feel like all you're doing is saying, look at me, look at me. And that feeling is real. And honestly, I don't think it ever fully goes away. But here's the reframe that actually helped me through. We create things to be shared. That's kind of the whole point. And sharing means connecting with other people on a real level. When I finally got into that headspace, like really got into it, something shifted. I realized how meaningful it can be to pour yourself into something and then hand it to somebody else. It stopped being about me. It became about the work and connecting with other people. And that shift changed everything. Okay, here's the cold business reality underneath all of this. If you don't share your work as a creative professional, you will professionally cease to exist. Strong words, I know, but I mean them. Because unless people have a way to find you, a way to understand what you do and how you do it, you're not going to get clients. Creative businesses are no different than any other business in this way. Word of mouth matters, referrals matter, but the more people who can actually find your work, the better. So showing up consistently and being visible does something else as well. It tells people that you're actually out there doing this. That signal that you're active, that you're working, matters more than most people realize. You just have to be there. I'll be straight with you. I'm not a huge fan of social media. I never really know what to post or what to say, and I've never really loved the routine of it. But someone told me something once that reframed the whole thing. They said, think of every post as a message to a potential client. That was it. And that was enough to get me moving. Now I have a system, posting multiple times a week across multiple platforms. And while it still feels like a chore, honestly, that chore has actually given me a lot. It's given me more people that see my work every month. I make new connections almost every single week. Potential clients, collaborators, people who just become friends. Brands and businesses know that I exist. But you know what means the most to me through all this? People have told me that they're genuinely inspired by what I share, and that would have never happened if I was sitting on the sidelines. Here's where it gets interesting. When you get into a consistent routine of sharing, you start accumulating real data. What lands, what doesn't, what makes people stop scrolling. A few years ago, I noticed something that genuinely confused me. I'd post what I thought was my best work, technically stunning images, and then the engagement would flatline. I'd be sitting there thinking, why does nobody care about this? Well, it turns out my audience wasn't trying to look at pretty pictures all the time. They were trying to connect with me. And the moment I started weaving myself into the content, BTS moments, stories behind the shoots, a peek behind the curtain, everything changed. My favorite example of this is one of my top performing posts ever is a photo of me hunched over a toilet in a hotel room shooting a bathroom image for a big hotel brand. Not a mountain, not a big campaign, a toilet. It worked because it was real. People just don't want the highlights. They want to see the person and the process behind it. Let your post teach you how to post. Pay attention, adjust, and get smarter over time. When you're starting out as a creative, you'll figure out pretty fast it's crowded out there. I actually think that's a good thing. It means a lot of people want this kind of life, but it also means you need to differentiate yourself and you need to do it fast. Here's the thing though, one photographer might not be that technically different from the next, but they'll be completely different as people. So lean into that. You are your brand. When someone hires you or follows you, they want you, your perspective, your vibe, your worldview. So give people a real sense of who you actually are, because that's what separates you from everyone else who's doing the same thing. The work gets you in the door, but the person you are keeps you in the room. We live in a content-driven world. The volume of what gets consumed every single day is genuinely impossible to comprehend. And I know it can feel like throwing a drop of water into the ocean. And believe me, I feel it too. But here's what consistent sharing has actually done for me. I've grown a community. Slowly, sure, but it's real and it's mine. I've grown as an artist. I figure out what works and what doesn't in a way I never could have sitting on the sidelines. And I've grown as a person, found my voice, built some confidence, gotten more comfortable in my own skin. This channel is actually a perfect example of that. I'm only a few months in and it still feels a little uncomfortable sometimes, but I'm genuinely more comfortable talking to this camera than I was back in January, and that growth matters, even when it's slow, even when it's small, and even when it's uncomfortable. My kids hear this from me all the time. Sharing is caring, and I mean it here too. Whether you're sharing for business reasons like I am most of the time, or just because you have something to say, putting your work out there means you care. It means you're opening yourself up to other people. And there's not enough of that in the world right now. So whatever your thing is, photography, music, painting, film, consider putting it out there. You'll probably be surprised at what comes back. And if you can bring even a little bit of joy to one other person, I promise you it will fill your cup in a way that I can't fully describe. Sure, I might be running a business, but that feeling of connection, that's what I'm actually chasing. Drop a comment and tell me, do you struggle to share your work? I genuinely love to know that I'm not alone in this. And I'll see you on the next one.